Before we get started, has anyone lost a large roll of $20 bills in a rubber band? Because we found the rubber band. Well, hey there guys, Tom here. Welcome back to my movie channel, and thank you very much for joining me for this, my review of the most anticipated movie of 2021, Spider-Man No Way Home. And if you guys haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies. Now, I will let you know, first of all, this video later in the second part of this video will contain spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home, but I am just going to give some brief, general, non-spoiler thoughts first. So if you haven't yet seen the movie, and the movie is out in most territories right now, in Australia, in the US, and the UK. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you just want to get a brief idea about what I thought of the movie, we're going to start with that, and I will let you know when I'm going to talk about spoilers, because there's so much in this movie that I just don't feel like I could really do the video justice if I don't talk about spoilers. So, briefly, non-spoiler thoughts. I loved this movie. I ate it up. I had very high expectations and a lot of theories and speculation and hype for this movie, and it exceeded those expectations. I have not been impressed by a comic book movie like this probably since Captain America Civil War, because, you know, when we were younger, or when I was younger, you know, we always used to dream about seeing our favorite heroes fight each other in an airport, and you never think they would do it. And then Civil War came out, and all of a sudden our favorite heroes are all fighting in an airport. There are things in this movie that I never thought I would see in a live action Spider-Man movie, and John Watts and Marvel did it. I don't know how they did it. There are things in this film I'm like, how did you bring these people together? How did you manage to do what you do in this movie? It is so ambitious. And there's a lot of fan servicey things in the movie, but what I was really impressed by was, and I thought, there are things that characters in the movie that I thought them being it, like the villains, for example, like Doc Ock and Goblin, we know they're in it. I thought this could get a little, a little bit gimmicky. It could feel a little weird. It could feel like they're just there for fan service, and they repeat a couple lines from the other movies, and I'm like, it could get a bit fan servicey, a little bit cringy. No, the fan service, there is a lot of fan service in this movie, but it worked with the narrative that they were telling. It wasn't forced. It felt natural. It felt, it was to lighten a moment in a serious scene. And Tom Holland in this movie is the best he has ever been as Spider-Man. This is his best performance as Spider-Man. It might be his best performance just in general that I've seen so far from him, because he is absolutely fantastic in this movie. And by the end of the movie, his Spider-Man stands on his own. He's out of the shadow of the Avengers and Tony Stark, and he now is, he is Spider-Man. And without giving too much away, he stands on his own at the end of the movie. He is the Spider-Man now. And you've all heard, like, this movie's emotional and it's really dark, and it is. It's surprisingly dark. Now, it still does have that, MCU Spider-Man humor, which worked for me most of the time. But it is, surprisingly, I wasn't sure how dark they were going to get with this movie. It's quite dark. It is quite dark. And I loved it for it. I really did. But overall, to cap off my non-spoilery thoughts, I really enjoyed this movie. I love this movie. And I do have a ranking of the Spider-Man movies coming in the next day or so. So look out for that to see where No Way Home ranks. I'm not going to tell you where it ranks in this video. But anyway, guys, it is time to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, this is the point to stop watching this video. Just add it to your watch later list or your favorites list, and come back and join me once you've seen the movie, because I am about to talk about all the spoilers in this movie, because there are a lot of them. And I'm not going to be talking about this movie in any particular order. I'm just going to be talking about things that I really, really loved. So let's start with, first of all, let me just say this, first of all, the atmosphere in the room. Like, it has been 2 years since I have been in a cinema that is this packed with this crowd that have been this excited for a movie. It hasn't happened since Avengers Endgame. It was a full house last night. 250 adult nerds crammed into a room, all wearing Spider-Man getup, watching No Way Home. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield, you lying little shit. He was you know, he was coming out with those denials, and if I hadn't have seen that leaked footage of him in front of the blue screen and the scaffolding, if that hadn't come out, Andrew Garfield denying that he's in the movie the whole time was very believable, because he that's the best performance he's ever given, by the way, is him denying he's in the movie. But he's in the movie. And when he showed up, when Ned opens the portal, first of all, Ned using Doctor Strange magic was hilarious. But when Andrew Garfield comes through that portal, the gasp, the audible gasp in the cinema, when Andrew Garfield walks through, takes his mask off, the entire audience in my theater applauded. It was amazing. And it was so good to see him get another shot at Spider-Man, because obviously his tenure as Spider-Man was cut short when they decided that they wanted to go in a new direction with the MCU. And so to see him be brought back into this was amazing. And then to turn around and have Tobey walk through a portal. And that was the moment that I got misty-eyed, because Tobey Maguire, you know, I grew up on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. And so to see him come back in his 40s or his 50s or however old Tobey Maguire is, and, you know, he's evolved. You can clearly tell Tobey Maguire is a much better actor than he was when he did the trilogy. Not that I think he's bad in the trilogy, but he has improved as an actor, and I love seeing the three of them together. You know, that was what I was most concerned about. Like, we all knew they were in the movie, but I was most concerned about that. I thought, is this going to get gimmicky? Is this going to turn into just, like, the three of them together? I thought it could be one of those scenarios where you're like, it's a dream scenario, we want it to happen, but should it just be a 5-minute fun YouTube clip of the three of them getting together? Like, that would just be kind of fun. Is the novelty going to wear off? And first of all, they're in way more of this movie than I thought they were going to be. And second of all, it never wore off. It never got tired. I love seeing the three of them together. I love the bromance between Tobey and Andrew. I love the lessons that they taught Tom Holland's Peter Parker. And I love that, you know, they have that when Aunt May dies, spoiler alert, by the way, we're talking about spoilers, when Aunt May dies and when Goblin kills her, and she gives Tom Holland the great power, great responsibility speech. And I love when he's saying that to Tobey, and Tobey finishes that sentence and then talks about his Uncle Ben, and then Andrew starts talking about losing Gwen, and you can really tell Andrew Garfield, he's not my favorite Spider-Man, but Andrew Garfield is the best actor to have played Spider-Man, because his facial expressions alone, when he brings up the death of Gwen Stacy, you can just, in his face, you can just see the pain. And he starts talking about, you know, he was rageful, he was vengeful, and he let it get away from him. And it's like, oh my God, we're telling what could have been the story of The Amazing Spider-Man 3 in 30 seconds of dialogue. And, you know, and they were teaching this Tom Holland lessons. And that's why I said in the non-spoiler portion, Tom Holland's standing on his own at the end of the movie as his own Spider-Man. And he's taking the lessons of two elder statesmen Spider-Man who have been Spider-Man longer than he has. I thought it worked really well, like really, really well. Like the fact that they got all these guys back together again, the fact that they got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back in this movie. And can I tell you the moment that I completely lost it? So first of all, I got teary-eyed when Tobey Maguire first came through the portal, right? Teary-eyed. When Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker meets Dr. Octopus again on that scaffolding, and Doc Ock saying, "It's good to see you, my boy." Oh, that touched me. That was it. I was bawling. I was crying. I couldn't stop it. And during that whole final fight where the three Spider-Men are swinging around the Statue of Liberty together, I look to my left, my friend Allie's bawling her eyes out. I look to my right, my other friend Sam is bawling her eyes out. There are snivels going all around the place. It was just like a room. You could feel the collective nerd boners all rise at once. Like, it was an incredible movie-going experience. Now, back to what I was saying, because I told you I'm going to jump around. This video is not going to be structured at all. So Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, the way they worked in, like, and they mention what point Alfred Molina was taken from Spider-Man 2. It's not when, Alfred Molina, there was a story that came out 6 months ago when he was first revealed to be in this movie. And he said his initial conversations with the director was that the idea was that he was going to be taken and pulled into the MCU at the exact moment that he was falling and drowning in the river. That's not the moment he was taken, by the way. He mentions it's a very brief line. It's a blink and you'll miss it kind of line. But he says something to the effect of, I had him by the throat. And then all of a sudden I'm here. And I know the exact moment in Spider-Man 2, and I wonder how many of you caught it, but I'll put the image up on the screen. The exact moment that Dr. Octopus was taken. So I love that detail, and I love that all the villains, Lizard, Electro, Goblin, they all have, you get an understanding of how they feel about being brought into a new universe. You know when they were all taken, and they were all brought into the MCU, which I thought was fantastic. And listen, the whole thing about Electro looking different, I'm like, clearly this isn't going to be the same Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, he looks different. It's going to be a different Electro. They're just using Jamie Foxx again because novelty, right? No. It's the same Electro. How does he look different? The movie doesn't really care. They make a joke about it. They move on. I would have liked them to kind of explain it, but that's just me. But, they just said, hey, when he got brought over, he looks different. But he is the same Electro, which I really love. But Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. Like, this man is incapable of phoning it in. Phoning it in is not in the vocabulary of Willem Dafoe. He is so good as Green Goblin. Like, so good. And the applause in the room that he got when all he said was, again, he says, I'm something of a scientist myself, which made it throb a little harder, I'm not going to lie. But the applause that got in the room was amazing. He's so good in this movie. The way he can move his face and turn into the Goblin, and the smile and the laugh. Oh my God. And that third act where Tom Holland's just beating the shit out of him and he's laughing about it like, haha, you killed Aunt May. It's your fault. And when people have been saying this is the most emotional and the most dark Spider-Man movie you'll ever see, that's why. Another moment I really liked, and it's a small moment and it's a small joke in the movie, but I love that when Peter first shows up to the Sanctum Sanctorum to ask for Doctor Strange's help, you find out that Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme and that he got it on a technicality because Doctor Strange was blipped out of existence for 5 years. I love that detail. I don't know why, that made me laugh so hard. I think I was laughing the hardest at that joke than any other joke in the movie. For some reason, I found that line hilarious. But also, I would vote for Wong as Sorcerer Supreme. I don't know, but I would. Another thing I didn't think was going to happen. I didn't think we were going to see Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. I knew Sandman was in it, but I didn't think we would see him in his human form. But we did. And we did see Rhys Ifans as the Lizard in the human form. I loved that. Like, again, how did they get all these people back together in the same room? I don't know. But they did it. I would have loved a little bit more of the Sam Raimi, Danny Elfman score when Toby's doing his thing. I would have liked a little bit more of that. They dropped hints to it, but to me that is like the theme for Spider-Man, like for all Spider-Man, and so I would have liked that theme to have played a little more. And I did think there was some weird editing decisions, but I think that probably comes down to the fact that they shot this during COVID, and so there were probably, people probably shot scenes where they're in a room talking to someone else, but that person's not actually there. They're just on a blue screen. So there were moments like that where you can tell that they probably shot this, a bit differently because of the pandemic and schedules and things like that. But, it didn't really bug me that much. I loved this movie. Like, flat out, I loved this movie. I have not had more fun in a movie in a cinema in a while. Like, I've had a lot of fun watching movies in 2021 and in 2020. But the excitement in the room, the atmosphere of that theater, the movie itself, I don't think I've had that much fun watching a movie in a very long time. And you know what really hit me? The most emotional part of the movie to me wasn't even Aunt May's death. It was when Peter realizes the only way to fix what's going on is if Doctor Strange completes that spell and everybody forgets who Spider-Man is. And then when he goes to that coffee shop at the end and MJ's got the band-aid on her head, but she doesn't know who he is. And you can see in his face, you can see the thought process of, I want to tell her, but you know what? It's better if I don't. It's better for her and Ned if they never know who I am. That got me. That really did affect me. And I think because And I'm just going to get a little personal, but that's okay. Don't be scared. I think because, I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely from time to time have thought, you know, it might be better for my friends if I just disappeared. And I'm not saying died, but like just went away and just they forgot I even existed. You know, we've had those thoughts. I've had those thoughts. And it was kind of emotional seeing that because I could relate to that on screen. And I was like, I've been there. I've had that struggle. Not that exact struggle. I haven't had a wizard cast a spell to make everyone forget who I am. But, you know, theoretically, I've had that kind of thought, that I've had those thoughts. But yeah, at the end, Tom Holland, he is his own Spider-Man now. I love the brief glimpse at his new outfit that we got as he's swinging through the sky at the end. I love this movie. I do. It's not going to work for everybody. I think the multiversal thing, I can understand. I totally get why some people are watching this movie and thinking it's all fan service. It's all about nostalgia, and it doesn't work, and it's cheap, and it's gimmicky, and I totally respect that opinion. For me, I don't know why people think nostalgia is a bad thing. I play on the nostalgia all you want. As long as you can work the nostalgia and the fan service into the narrative, I'm perfectly fine with it. And to me, Spider-Man No Way Home worked on every level. I freaking love this movie. I'm not going to tell you where, you can probably guess it's my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. But stay tuned for my complete ranking of all the Spider-Man movies. And I've also got my ranking of the 2021 comic book movies coming up in the next week. Both of those videos dropping this upcoming week. Keep an eye out for those. My name is Tom. Thank you very much for watching this review. Guys, if you enjoyed it, jump down in the comment section below and talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. What you like, what you didn't like, spoilers, go for your life. Let's talk about this movie in the comment section below. Once again, guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. My name is Tom. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time.